You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, luchacentral.com presents Straight Out of the Bodega with King Fat Boy Papo Esco.
From the wrestling world to the podcast world, it's Straight Out of the Bodega with your host,
the King Fat Boy Papo Esco.
Yo, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. You have arrived, pulled up. Welcome to another edition of Straight Out of the Bodega. I am your master of ceremonies. Hold on, let me take a breath for this one. The bully from the bodega, the lucha thug, the one-man lucha gang, El Rey Gordo himself, the King Fat Boy Papo Esco. And as always, man, we're gonna take you on this ride. A ride through the blocks, back alleys, and street corners of the bodega. We're gonna give you everything you need that's pro wrestling, maybe a little bit of entertainment. But I'm ready. I hope you're ready. So take a seat, pour up your favorite drink, and let's ride.
Bodega, 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 bodega.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Hello? Is this thing on? This is a test of the Lucha Central Podcast Network, and we're bringing you another edition of Straight Out of the Bodega. I hope you guys are in good spirits, man. I hope you're having a good week. Me, last week, I was a little out of sorts, man. I was down and out, but this week I'm back. I'm in good spirits, even though we're still in this pandemic. It's pretty frustrating, pretty aggravating, to be honest with you. You know, I'm here in the state of California, and we still are in this pandemic. We are probably worse off than we were when we were at what should have been our highest point months ago. But, you know, what can you do? I know what we can do. We got to help slow this spread. So wash your hands, social distance, and please wear your lucha-masks.com face cover. All right? Wear that mask. All right? Only we can stop this spread, and we all got to work together to do so. But if we work together, we'll be able to get through this. Anyway, we got a great show for you today. But before we get into the details of that, I want to introduce you guys to a new segment. Now, I haven't figured out if we're going to do this once a week, once every other week, once a month, but we're going to do it, and I hope that you guys do enjoy it. The segment is called Papo's Pick. Now, what is Papo's Pick? It's simple. I'm going to recommend a movie or a TV show to you. All right? I'm going to recommend it. Hopefully, you listeners will check it out and then talk to me on social media. Talk to me, I'll talk back. I promise you. Let me know if it's a good one. Let me know if I was off base and it sucks. You know, either way, it's going to be a fun time, and you're going to get something to do and have something to do to take your mind off of everything that's going on around you. So for the first installment of Papo's Pick, drum roll, please. Are you kidding me right now? That was a whack drum roll. You're fired. The door's that way. Don't let it hit you where the good Lord splits you. Get out. Damn. I'm sorry, y'all. Anyway, the Netflix film, The Old Guard. I recommend this movie. I like it. Action-packed. It stars Charlize Theron. I hope I said that right. Charlize Theron. And the easiest way I can explain it is she leads this band of mercenaries who are also immortal. They go through the ages just fighting off all kinds of bad guys and making things right in the world, and then they stop. Then they come back together for one more gig, and during that time they got to fight off even more bad guys, and they find some people to help them along the way. I'm not going to tell you too much more than that. You know, I don't want to make spoilers or anything like that. So check the movie out. And then go on social media, hit me up, talk to me. I'll talk back. I promise. Let me know if I'm off base. Was the movie good? Was it not? Talk to me. I don't know. I hope you know. I'm rambling right now, so I'm going to stop. Anyway, we got a great show for you today. On the show, we have FCW alumni, NXT alumni, WWE superstar, ring announcer, and manager to Alberto Del Rio. does it much better than I do. Anyway, Ricardo Rodriguez is on the show. We're going to sit down and have a good time. We're going to get right into it, but before we do, you know we got to go to the golden voice. You know we got to hear from the first lady of the Lucha Central Podcast Network family, Denise Salcedo, with Lucha Central Central.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a reminder of where and when to catch your favorite shows each week or when to try a new one. Monday, the Business of the Business podcast is back as Master Public President Kevin Kleinrock talks with Headlocked comic writer and creator Michael Kingston about his latest edition, Tales from the Road 2, and working with superstars including Jerry Lawler, Shane Helms, RVD, Pentagon Jr., Taya Valkyrie, and more as the book enters its final week on Kickstarter. Tuesdays, it's the Lucha Underground centered show, Mass Mats and Mayhem. Check out the premiere video stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Lucha Central YouTube channel and at theluchacentral.com. Then listen to it on your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday. Also on Tuesdays, Wrestle Boss with Fabi Chulo, live, covering pro wrestling and MMA from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific. Head to WrestleBossLive.com to listen live and even call in or download it Wednesday across podcast platforms. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Find the video version on Facebook Wednesday through Friday, and then Saturdays download the audio version in podcast form. This week, AAA referee Piero takes a seat at the table and the crew talk about the controversy of luchadores and revenues from digital content as well as the growth of luchadores as YouTubers and influencers. Thursdays, it's straight out of the bodega with Papo Esco and PWR promoter Gabriel Ramirez. This week, Ricardo Rodriguez pulls up to the show and the trio talk about his start in SoCal, signing with the WWE, and being the personal ring announcer for Alberto Del Rio, heading to India to be the head trainer at the Great Khali School, and more. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and outside of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. This week, both shows take a look back at the packed weekend, including Mexico streaming shows from DTU and Mas Lucha's women's tournament, plus all of the lucha-related matches on WWE Extreme Rules, Impact Wrestling Slammiversary, and AEW Dynamite. Plus, LC Weekly in Espanol looks at the greatest hair versus hair matches of all time and whose hair may be the most valuable in a match today. Be sure to subscribe and follow all of your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms, and please be sure to give a rating and review to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central Central. Have a great week.
And welcome back to Straight Out of the Bodega. I am your master of ceremonies, the King, Fat Boy Papuesco. And as always, I got to introduce my guy, my man, Pro Wrestling Revolution owner, Pro Wrestling Revolution Training Academy owner and operator. Ooh, I'm fumbling today. And owner and proprietor of lucha-mass.com, Gabe Ramirez. How you doing, brother?
Can you do that again? Because
yeah, I know,
because
right?
you normally kill my intro. Now, I don't feel like even doing the podcast.
All right, we're gonna do this one more time. We're gonna keep this part because I fumbled, but we're gonna do it over again. On the line with me, my brother, my man, owner and operator of Pro Wrestling Revolution, owner and operator of Pro Wrestling Revolution Training Academy, and owner and proprietor of lucha-mass.com. We got Gabriel Ramirez on the line.
My brother.
What's up, man?
Man, I'm going to have to add another business so you can just keep adding those operator of this, proprietor of that. And
before you know it, you're going to have as many businesses as I have damn names. It's going to be great.
I don't know, bro.
Great.
That's too much, man. I don't know if I can take on. But you know what? I'm excited for today's podcast, man.
I am too. As you know, it's going to be a great one.
I mean,
as you know,
I'm just hoping he has a lot of minutes on his prepaid phone card, because I know those SoCal guys, man. I'm telling you, they always got those prepaid phones. They have to run to Walmart and put more dollars on it, and so
here we go. Well, today we got on the podcast. I would like to think that he's a world traveler. He's been all over the world.
Yes, he has.
You know, he's had stints in Florida Championship Wrestling. That was the developmental territory before NXT came along. He was in NXT. He was a WWE superstar and ring announcer for Alberto Del Rio. Well, I'm pretty sure he says it much better than I do. We got Ricardo Rodriguez on the line. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm actually I'm more impressed that I think Gabe, he did better with my intro than he did yours. I think he gave me more titles. He gave me more titles than he did you. So you're gonna get a tip on your Venmo or your OnlyFans thing.
Hey, whoa! I don't have an OnlyFans. I don't have an OnlyFans. I got fans only. How you doing, brother? How you holding up, man? I know we in a pandemic and we got a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. How you doing down there in SoCal?
I'm good, man. I'm actually thankfully I've been working. I've been busy throughout this whole thing, so that helps a lot. I can only imagine what other folks are going through of just being at home. Or for as you know, what everything that's going on of people that don't stay home and then mess it up for everybody else. But just keeping busy, dude. Just try waiting for this to get over with, and so we can get back to our routine of wrestling and sports and being outside and all that other stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely want to get right into it, man. There's a lot of content and great stories that we're going to hear from you tonight. I want to get started, from the beginning. You debuted in, 2006, right? And you were basically running around the Southern California circuit. Do I hear this right? You started out wrestling in backyards first?
I did. I even before 2006, I found a little backyard fed here in San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, and I thought it was pretty cool because they had a ring. I looked them up online. They had a ring. It was awesome. They had videos. They had quote unquote monthly shows, and then
that sounds like every other indie going on lately. You know what I mean? So
it turns out
backyard.
Yeah, it was a backyard, and then they had an old beat up boxing ring. So that's how I learned initially how to bump and how to do all that stuff. Aside from the grass, because I learned how to bump in my grass, and in school too, in high school.
So when did you actually get into an? I don't want to say an actual ring, but I'm going to say it for the sake of what we're talking about, an actual ring, and start being trained by actual, professional.
It was probably 2005. I'm trying to think in my head off the top. I can't remember the exact dates, but it was early 2005. Prior to that, we were doing backyard shows, and then I met this guy who some of us already know, Joe Medina, from down here in Southern California.
Yeah,
who ran lucha shows, and he came to one of our quote unquote events, backyard events, because we used to flyer at PWG. So I'm a graphic designer before pro wrestler. So that's what I got my degree in, was graphic design and animation. So I would make these pretty bomb ass flyers, especially for lucha standards or like even like independent level type of flyers. I would make some pretty bomb ass ones. And then we would go and flyer. We would go to PWG in Los Feliz, and we would go flyer. And it caught the attention of certain people, and then it got the attention of Joe Medina. He came to one of our shows. He came to one of our, again, quote unquote trainings, which it wasn't even training. It was just we spent a whole month rehearsing our matches.
That sounds like standard indie wrestling right now anyway, so I think you're okay.
So then he came along, and then he's like, "Hey, do you want to?" I mean, basically, he offered us if he wanted to, if we wanted to train. And I want to say it was probably like around 2005, mid early 2005.
So who did you actually train with? I heard a lot of names. Black Pearl, Gangrel, the Phoenix Stars, Okray. I mean, were these the guys that were instrumental in your training, or were they in your class with you?
They came along the lines much later.
Okay.
My original trainer was this guy named Latigo Blanco.
Okay.
Short little brown dude, but man, he should beat the hell out of us, man. He should kick the shit out of us. And like I said, he would just destroy us. He would just destroy us, but and we had to earn our way to get into the ring. We had to earn our way to do some offense. Because he would just kick our ass. Basically the same kind of concept that they would do at the PC, where they want to see if you quit. But I mean, I stuck around with it, and then eventually he started taking me out to like shows and stuff with him, and like I think the first couple of matches I did against him, and then like I said, it was the same thing. He would just kick my ass, but still, like he was getting me out there, getting a vibe for the crowd and stuff and whatever.
I've always heard, like, man, every single time we have one of these podcasts, we talk about the training aspect of it, and a lot of the guys that have been training since prior to 2010, they all say pretty much the same thing. Is like there was a period of time where it was still old school, right? You were still getting your ass handed to you to see if you actually even wanted to do this, right? So you went through that type of training and you were able to make it through. You debuted. Now, to take me through some of the early stages of your wrestling career. I know you were running all over SoCal. What was that experience like? And talk to me about when you started to see things starting to click, fireworks per se going off.
Well, eventually I started training the American style, because all I knew at first was lucha. That's all I knew. And even like the smallest guys knew how to base for me. And I'm a tall dude. And then even though I was like 1,000 pounds lighter back there, like 14 years ago, I've always been 5'11", 6 feet tall, So like that never changed. But people like that were like half my size would know how to base for me, because that's what lucha is. And then you learn how to base, you learn how to fly. But then when I switched over to the American side, it was a whole another like world of like, what? They don't know how to carry you. What the fuck?
Yeah.
How does this big ass behemoth doesn't know? How can he not catch me?
Right.
But then that's when I switched over to the American style, and then that's when I got in with like I said, Zogre and MSS Phoenix Star. That's when I got in with them. Shamu Jr. would come in every now and then. But but it kind of helped that they were lucha American. I mean, obviously they knew Mexican lucha, but their style was lucha American, so it helped the transition to go from lucha to American style. It helped that they knew lucha style and they knew how to transition.
So they were able to help you build into, or actually get introduced into, that hybrid lucha American style and help you transition into the scene that you were going to be cutting your teeth in, right? Basically,
yeah. And then when I really started getting my break in the American circuit, or just in wrestling in general, was with UEW, that used to be owned by like Carnage, Robbie Phoenix at the time. What the hell was his name? U Suicide. And then that company was predominantly more of a hardcore style, like the death matches and stuff. They were predominantly that, but they just happened to be having a cruiserweight tournament, and then Joe Medina used to use these guys a lot for their shows. Used to use these guys, so they had some kind of a deal. So that's how I got in with them. They were at the shows with Joe, and then when they did this cruiserweight thing, they brought in a bunch of guys from NorCal. They brought a bunch of us from SoCal. And that's where I met Virgil Flynn, actually. Rest in peace. I know he just had his anniversary recently.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, rest in peace to Virgil Flynn. So during that time, you're cutting your teeth in the SoCal area, and you're starting to, gain ground. In that time, you had a chance to work other places, right, outside of the SoCal area, outside of the West Coast. Talk to me about Chikara. I think you did Dragon Gate USA at a time. Were these the reason why I want you to talk about these is because I know that we talk about this, me and Gabe, a lot. In order for you to be better, you have to wrestle people that are better than you. So I kind of wanted to ask you, where and when did you start wrestling these people that were actually elevating your game? I want to talk about the fireworks going off and when you really started seeing, the bigger picture of wrestling.
See, here's the big difference though, and I get where you're coming from. It was very rare that I ever got like high profile matches. It was, and it's still to this day, it's very rare.
Still to this day, though, no manches.
No. I mean, even to this day, it's very rare that I get high profile matches. I've never gone like your Penta. I've never gone your I don't know, if like your Kenny King or your JB. So I've never gotten those type of matches. Like Christopher Daniels. I've always gotten guys that are roughly the same level that I am. However, what I did get a lot of was variety. That's what I got a lot out of. I got a lot of guys who, like, I got to work with, like Tim Thatcher, who was just a grappler, and then like the next show they would put me with what was that dude that was up there with you, Gabe, a Golden Lion.
Oh yeah.
I would work with someone like him, and then the next show I would work like a big heavyweight. So I started working with a lot of variety. That's where I started picking apart, okay, I can do this with this guy. This works with this one. This works with that. And then that's what kind of helped me develop my sense of me, because I know that I can transform myself. If they wanted a striker, I can be that striker. If they wanted a grappler, I can be that grappler. If they wanted a lucha guy, I'll be that lucha guy. That's where I started developing my style, my sense.
But in SoCal, I mean, obviously you talked about UEW and what have you, but SoCal it's always been known for having a shitload of indies. That's for one. A shitload of hybrids as well. So, where were you sticking in most? Like, did you try to find a home? Because in my experience, correct me if I'm wrong, when I was groomed in this area, we all had a home for the most part. In SoCal, there really wasn't a home. It's almost like you guys were like, like sleeping on people's couches for a couple of months, then you move on to someone else's couch and you go
almost like a territory.
So you were there for that was the majority of your time, or did you train besides with Zocre and Phoenix Star? Did you go elsewhere? Did you work other indies that are not around anymore? Like, where did you start honing your craft in?
My home promotion was basically SoCal Pro. That's once I started with them down in San Diego and Oceanside. That's where I really started to like call that my home. Even though I'm not from San Diego, I built a really good relationship with Jeff Dino down there. So like to me, that's always been my home promotion because he always took care of me. And then my secondary would have been like Battleground, but I was never like one of their favorites. But they always trusted me. Hold on. No. This is the J, Jason Bennett Jason Bennett Battleground.
Yeah.
Stu Hall. They always trusted me though that I would have good matches. They would put me, like I said, they never gave me high profile matches, but they would give me variety. Like I had before he was called Simon Gotch, I had Ryan Drago. So I would have like Joey Harder. These were grapplers, and then they would put me with like green boys that were like me. So I learned. Like I said, I think that's an advantage to me that I had a lot of variety, and I got to pick from different people. But as far as like the training, like yeah, dude, I was training once I got the blessing from my parents to go explore. Like I was going to one place on Mondays, I was going to a different place on Tuesdays. I was training like 4 or 5 days a week.
And that's the thing about SoCal that I've always found so different from us up here. and we're talking about a 7-hour car drive from one to the other, and the variation, like. For here, we've always tried to have homes like I was groomed in APW, but obviously now in Revolution, we have our home here, but the training schools have never been that many. Even though the ones we have up here, I think we still have way too many because a lot of them suck. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, of course.
And then in SoCal, you've had a lot of places, but they never really were training schools. It was most like, hey, you know what? I rented a building, I have a ring. And then on Monday, Luchador trains whoever shows up, and on Tuesday, somebody else. So I think that's the different grooming that you guys were receiving, in a sense where you guys were like, it's kind of like your tío throwing you in the pool and going, "Fuck it, swim."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Much.
Yeah, and so the difference over here is that we were taking care of them. So when I first met you, you and I came across each other 2009 maybe at Championship Wrestling, NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Yep.
And that's when I first came across you, and I was like, who the hell is in this outfit? I was like, because typically when you see lucha gear, it's always some guy in some, some tantarans in a cheap mask.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here comes this guy in this great outfit. I'm like, oh my God, look at this guy. And I said, hey, so, what do you work under? He goes, Chimera. I go, oh man, another comic book guy? I was like, shit, man. I was like, why is everyone?
Which is not even a comic book.
But the comic books are great though.
But you gotta
superhero character.
You gotta remember though, this is 2000, and because everybody want to have these over the top names. I was like, oh man, I saw his work, and I was like, man, I think I want to work on some shows. And I go, hey, but I might want you to do a different name. He goes, nope. And I said, no. He goes, nope, not changing my name, not doing this, not doing that. And I was like, all right. But one thing I could tell though, that you had, like they say in lucha, traías colmillo. You know what I mean? And so that's something I've always got from you, that, you always found a way to make it work. So if you went from backyard and you hopped around from couch to couch learning, at what point did you feel like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm a little bit past the greenhorn stuff. Let me make that move. Did you make it, or did someone make it for you where you had to, make that move because it clicked?
Yeah, that's a tough one though, because that click is consistent. Like it happens every so often. Just when you think you figure something out, something happens, and then all of a sudden, like, oh shit, wait, that makes more sense than what I thought made sense. Right. And as we evolve as wrestlers, as performers, we continuously we're always learning and we're always evolving. That's what we should all be doing. We should all be progressing. The moment I feel content with where I'm at, that's when I should think that, like, hey, maybe I'm a know-it-all now, so like maybe this isn't for me anymore, right? Because it'll become dull.
Yeah.
So like even now, like I'm watching stuff and I'm like, fuck, even stuff that's old. I just watched. I was watching the new New Japan, the Super J Cup '94, and I've seen this tournament 1,000 times. But every single time I watch it, I learn something new.
Yeah.
So I know for me, the first time I went to Europe, the company that I worked for, they were a company that had a lot of like heavyweights, and they brought in a lot of old WWF guys. So here I come in, I do a flying head scissors. I'm in my whole like Chimera gear. I do a flying head scissors, and the crowd just loses their mind. And I was like, "What the fuck?" That was like back home. That's nothing.
Some they hadn't seen before. What was that company?
Yeah, because in that crowd. But that's when I started learning. Okay, well, this crowd is different. This crowd is used to this. That's when I started like to analyze the crowd. Before, like as I go out and before the matches, I'm like, okay, what do I have? I have a bunch of like 20-some-year-olds. Okay, they're gonna want more impact. What about here? It's a Sunday. There's a bunch of kids. Okay, let's play with the crowd. So as we go on, we develop certain things. Now, when I went to Chikara, that was a completely different crowd than what I did in Europe. And the thing that I know we've talked about this in the past, and I've said this before so many times, the one thing that I appreciated about this experience was that the guy that I worked, Cloudy. He was a name in Chikara. He was already established there. And then the very first thing he tells me once we introduce ourselves, he's like, "Hey man, listen, like," and I'm paraphrasing. He's like, "Hey man, listen, they already know me here. I don't have to do anything. You do your shit. You do your stuff. Show off." And then I'm like, "Dude, that's cool, man. Like, you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, I don't have to do anything here. They already know me."
Yeah.
And that to me was awesome. That to me was freaking cool. That to me was so amazing, and something that I carried on for every single time that I did a tryout with somebody with somebody with WWE.
Right.
Like Regal already knew me, Arn already knew me, Finley already knew me, Scott Armstrong already knew me. I didn't have to do anything for them. I wanted the guy who was doing the tryout to show off.
Right.
So I would tell guys, like I had a try with Mustafa Ali. Sorry, excuse me.
No manches, Muhammad Ali, cabrón, no. We're doing a podcast.
I know, right?
It was Muhammad Ali, me, and the Noki in a three-way.
I had a try with Mustafa. And then I told him, I was like, "Hey, you do this thing, right?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Do it." And then he's like, "Oh, you know myself?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, we were in Jakarta together. We did the same tournament." But anyway, like,
but but see, here's the thing though. You were hopping couch to couch, learning, doing shows, but there's no way you went from a couch all the way to freaking Germany or England.
No, I mean,
what took you there though? What happened? Like, what was the transgression from going there? Like, did you call someone? They called you? I mean, because the social media was not there.
No, hold on, it was. It was.
No, it just
MySpace?
wasn't.
MySpace and YouTube. MySpace and YouTube. That's how I got booked in Europe.
Where'd you go in Europe?
I found a promoter in Germany, and I just messaged him, and then he's like, "Hey, send me some information or send me some stuff." And at the time, I was recording. I would take a video camera and I would record all my matches, and I would make highlight videos of all my matches, and I will put them up on YouTube. And then that's what I sent. I sent him like 3-4 matches, and he enjoyed it. So then he's like, "Hey, listen, if you fly yourself out here, we'll put you on shows." He gave me 2 or 3 shows. He's like, "We'll put you out here, and then we'll get you going." I was like, "Cool." The flights at the time were cheap as shit. I had a good job, so like the flights was easy.
Right.
By the time I got there, I got paid. I did my merch. I broke even. But,
okay. But see, right now, I think that's a perfect example just because just the other day I had an incident and I want to touch on it because a lot of people, and I think you can appreciate this, and I think Papo has heard me say this a million times, and I'll still say it. People right now on the independent level, and it's getting worse. It's obviously the COVID thing has put a halt to it. And maybe it's a blessing in disguise in the sense of maybe the mentality would change when we go back to normal. Okay. But and again, we're talking in a wrestling bubble. I don't want to get caught up in this like, oh, it's COVID is bad because we know it's bad. But the problem with indie wrestling is like, oh, well, what's my pay? What's my PO? And you got these greenhorns who've wrestled for 7 months, 2 years. What's the PO? What's my trans? Shut the fuck up. Like, no, who invented the $50 payout? Who invented $25 payouts? That doesn't exist. Somebody did it, and then some fucking guy goes, "Oh, that's the normal payout." No. The fact that people fly themselves in, people would go, "Oh, you never fly yourself in." Oh, they pay. Bullshit. You'd be surprised how many people fly themselves in to get that opportunity. Right. I mean, there's people now who won't leave LA to San Francisco unless they got, I need to have gas, hotel, toll bridge. I need to have, my snack, my Gatorade, my high C, and a fucking sticker that I want to scratch and sniff for the 6-hour drive. It's insane. It's like, and then they always assume that as a promoter, he's making millions. Oh God, I would trade you. I would trade you to go in the ring, wrestle for 6 minutes and get your $100 payout for me as a promoter or any decent promoter who's spending thousands upon thousands and thousands and thousands and going, holy shit, I'm going to lose 10 grand. I think the fact that people are willing to invest in themselves, because as a promoter, I've had tons of people fly themselves in for stuff because they were hungry like you and wanted to get new. Like they were telling me, look, brother, I'll fly myself in. Can I get a good match? I want to expose, my talent, my ability, X, Y, and Z. And I would look at their work and I was like, damn, man, you're solid. But why can't I bring them in? Well, why? Same reason why someone can't bring you in to Germany. The flights are expensive. No one's going to pay to come see you because we're nobodies. But the moment you're there, now they're like, well, shit, where'd you come from? And that's when you earn your spot, right? That's when they go, hey, brother, you know what? I'll bring you back. Let's make it work. Now, with that being said, you worked in Chikara. You made people pop. You made some good contacts. Did that catapult you to somebody go, shit, how did Chimera get to Germany? Monkey see,
well,
monkey do.
I did Germany first.
Exactly.
So I had that resume already that I had just gone, and it was my first time in Europe. So I went with an old high school friend of mine, and then so we went to Germany, and then we hopped over to I think we had a layover in Amsterdam, so we hung out there for a little bit, and then we.
No wonder you
went.
I'm
not a smoker,
so
I didn't.
Let's go to Amsterdam.
Whatever.
Yeah, no manches. Well, you didn't go look at the freaking red light district.
Red light district. Come on now.
You may not smoke, but no manches. You didn't go and look at least. Okay.
If you look at the menu, just don't order.
There you go. But then, actually, Johnny Yuma was the one that had contacted Mike Quackenbush first, and then from there, I think he had. I don't remember exactly the full details, but I had also messaged Quackenbush prior, and many months prior, before he was looking for the Young Lions Cup,
right?
And I think Quackenbush had asked Yuma about me. If he knew who I was, because I had also messaged Quackenbush, and whatever paths crossed, and then both myself and Yuma ended up going to Chikara for that tournament. But at the time, no, Yuma was very sociable. Yeah, so he made friends over there too. But I mean, I always go. I usually go into places with the aspect of business. Hey, cool. It's a sad truth that you have to realize too, that we're not here to make friends. It's great if you do. But it's still a business. It's still a business. So we have to treat it as such.
In your discussions with Quackenbush, did Backyard ever come up? Because I mean, that's another guy who started off in Backyard. And he took a lot of heat in the very beginning when he was coming out in his area in his time. He was very open about being Backyard in a time where, like in the 70s, if you were Backyard, you weren't considered the Backyard like you expect a bunch of kids to be breaking, chairs. They would study and they do safe moves, and because they couldn't find someone to train. In the era of Quackenbush and you, Backyard was considered a lot different. He got a lot of backlash for it. He got, he's a self-trained guy when he first came up and took a lot of shit for it, but he overcame it and obviously started a legacy with Chikara. Now,
I know that too.
With you, as well. So did that ever come up with you guys?
No. I didn't have. Well, have you met Quack?
Yeah.
He's very OCD sometimes. So he's very and plus it was show day, so he didn't really talk to us much. He was just worried about getting everything set and make sure everything was right. So he was running around, so we didn't really talk. I mean, he did tell me after the match or the day after. Because it was a 3-day, the Young Lions Cup is a 3-day thing.
Right.
So the second day, because I was on night one, the second day he told me, he's like, hey, because Cloudy went over the first night, and then he's like, oh, we should have switched up the finish, whatever, but hey, we'll keep in touch. So that was that. And then we talked a few times after that, but nothing ever came date-wise. We couldn't the very few times that we chatted, nothing came from it because of dates, whatever. But then after, like I said, after Chikara and Europe and whatever, like I became consistent in Europe. I was going back and forth a lot into Germany because, like you said, I invested in myself and I went and I impressed over there, thankfully, and I did well over there. So the promoter over there kept bringing me back. Now on his dime.
Exactly, and that's a perfect example. Absolutely, because the guy took a chance on him. He invested in himself. He worked well. He turned, and then at that point, now as a promoter, he says, "Okay, cool. Well, he's somebody new. I can work with him. He's hungry. He's flexible." But I'm sure if you would have went to him, "All right, bro, I need to get this much. I need to have my own hotel room." Because believe it or not, as a promoter, I get that asked a lot, and it's okay when I get it from a superstar from Mexico or ex WWE, whatever. I can understand that, but when you have indie guys, hey, what's the PO? What's my hotel looking like? Hotel? You live in LA, bro. The show's over. Guess what? Get in your car and go home. Go home. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I always teach my guys, man. Don't ask if. Now, if you're doing a 12, 13-hour drive, no mames. Yeah, ask for something. Ask to crash on the couch. Don't ask for a hotel room unless, it's there, pero no manches. LA and back, they're asking for room. So I think what you did is awesome. And I think you can look back now and go, if I would have made those moves, who knows, right?
Yeah, and it was the same thing with Chikara. We flew ourselves out there.
Yeah.
Because it was gonna be the first time that either one of us had gone to the East Coast, and it was gonna be for a big company like Chikara. So we just said, fuck it, let's go. And then that night, we couldn't afford hotels, so we slept in the airport.
Oh wow!
To catch up flights.
Yeah, see, I appreciate that. That's like an old school mentality when it comes to wrestlers. It's, you want to apply your trade. You want to make sure that you take everything to the next level every single time. So here you go. You're wrestling people that are on your level, maybe a little bit better. You're wrestling all kinds of different varieties of professional wrestlers. You're learning and applying your trade through trial and error. You're getting yourself on a plane, traveling yourself over to these places just to be heard and to be seen. At what point did you say, okay, well, I'm there? And more importantly, at what point did the WWE come looking at you?
Well, the WWE didn't come looking for me. I had worked. I had done a show for Jesse Hernandez, and I worked this guy Brandon Parker. And after the match, I because the finish was screwed up. We messed up the finish, and then I kicked out of Brandon's finish.
Been there multiple times.
He used to do like the top rope double stomp or the double stomp off the top rope.
That's like
so he had slipped, and then he only caught me like with one foot. So when he went to cover me, he tried to like lock me in, and I kicked out. And then we ended up doing this other spot, and then we redid the finish, but we did we dicked around it.
Well, if he would have slapped the leg, it would have covered it up.
That's facts.
So then when Jesse came up afterwards, he was like, "Hey, what happened with the finish?" And I told him, I was like, I kicked out. I apologize, sir. Mind you, this is the first time I met Jesse. I was like, I apologize. Just the finish came off bad, so like I want to redo it. He's like, no. I'm glad you did, because had that been the finish, it would have been upset. You know how Jesse talks.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he pulls me aside. So as I finished changing whatever, right before I go to say my goodbyes, he pulls me aside and he's like, "Hey, WWE's coming to town. Would you be interested in doing a tryout?" Which, I mean, like I've told you guys before, like WWE was never my
your goal. Yeah.
Right.
Did you ask Jesse what the payout was going to be?
I want 5-star hotel, crab leg. No, but then he's like, "Hey, they're looking for lucha guys. If you're interested." I was like, "Yeah, of course." And I had not watched WWE in a long time, so like I tried to stuff as much stuff as I could in my head. What was it, like almost a month before they came?
Yeah, like a crash course. You went to crash course, WWE crash course.
Yeah, basically.
Hey, Ricardo, before you continue on with this, you skipped over something. You said that wasn't your goal. We've heard the story, but for the listeners, what was your goal?
My goal was always like Mexico. That was like AAA, CMLL. Also Japan. I wanted to go to Japan so bad, and I still want to go to Japan. Those are my goals.
You've never gone to Japan?
Never been to Japan, man.
My brother.
Years and haven't been to Japan. And like I said before, I want that stupid jacket.
Okay,
bro.
I see something, bro.
Bro, yes, Papa, you're correct. We'll take this offline afterwards and we'll talk. But yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, your goal. You know what's funny is like when I was coming up in Daniel Bryan, when I first met Daniel Bryan or American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, his goals was always Mexico as well. He was a huge lucha fan. You know, he loved it so much, and he loves, Hijo del Santo, Octagon. He just loved that AAA product. He always wanted to work Mexico.
AAA in the 90s, man, was amazing.
Era todo.
Yeah.
And that was his goal. And it's funny because obviously he's in WWE and he is who he is now. But, he came from the Shawn Michaels Academy. He had everything there, and he had tryout on tryout, contract after contract. And when I ran into him for that year or two, and we worked together and trained together, he says, "Yeah, my goal is Mexico." And I was like, "What? Mexico?" He goes, "Oh, bro, I love lucha, and this is a technical, a great mat worker of, you see who he is. He's always been like that, and for him was lucha, which is great. People may not know that too much about him. And one of his ultimate goals was Mexico that he finally got to fulfill. So for you, you've actually, had those goals. Did you feel like you had second thoughts when you got that offer of a tryout? Did you go, it's not my goals? Because if you consider you went to school for graphic design and they offer you a plumber job, you're like, not into it. What was going through your mind when someone says, hey, they're looking for lucha guys? Are you into it? Did you feel like, well, they're not real lucha, Mexico's real? What was going through your head when you get that offer?
No, I mean, at first, obviously, like I did watch WWE like years prior. So I mean, of course. Plus, it's TV. Of course, you want to be on TV. I had done a lot of like TV stuff down here because I've done like extra work and stuff for like movies and like TV shows and shit. Because that's obviously the thing here in LA.
Right.
So like I've done TV stuff, and obviously I always wanted to be in front of a camera. And I've obviously WWE's TV. So like when I was offered it, of course I said yes. I didn't know what to expect. I've never done extra work, so I didn't know what to do.
This is before the website. This is before filling up a form and providing blood work and your date of birth and all this stuff. This is just a thing.
And at the time, I was also training with Rikishi and Gangrel and Black Pearl. That's when I was with them, and Orlando Jordan. That's when I was with them. So like I knew who they were. I knew WWE. So and I knew like, and I was training mainly with Gangrel. So he taught me basically the WWE style.
That guy is one of the most underrated people in this business. That guy,
such a cool dude too.
He knows so much. He comes from a Stampede era where he learned so much and does it all, and so humble. I mean, don't get me wrong. He'll freaking knock your ass off. He has to.
Oh, I've seen him mad. I've seen him mad. That's a scary dude.
Such a great guy. So now you go into a WWE tryout with the background of Rikishi, and you have the territory, training behind you. You started off with your trainers in lucha. You've gone couch to couch. You've done a little bit of Germany. You've done a little bit of Chikara. You've gotten your feet wet. You've done a little bit of TV. Actually, now you go into this tryout feeling comfortable to be a luchador, right?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, they didn't really test me on the lucha stuff. There were a bunch of, mind you, it's also LA, so we're all like Latinos. There's only, I think like Joy and like two other guys were like the non-Latinos one there. But everybody there was Latino. And then like I said, like I've told you in the past, we did like a man in the middle where like one person got in the middle and then everybody just beat him up. And I stayed in there for as long as I could, like 40-some minutes. I would get beat up for a little while. Somebody would tag me out, and then I would wait for like a minute or two and then tag myself back in.
40 minutes of man in the middle?
I just wanted to get in there, and I want to be seen. Because that was the thing that Gangrel told me. He's like, just make sure you're
the cardio, huh?
Make sure you stand out. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the time, like I said, I was like 1,000 pounds lighter. So I mean, my cardio was there. I was 4. So I still had the energy. And,
so man in the middle, 40 minutes tagging in and out, trying to make sure you're seen. What is the perspective of the WWE, agents and officials that were watching?
Well, at the time, it was Jamie Noble, Evan Bourne, and then Tyson Kidd. Those were the guys that were there.
Wow.
And obviously, like I know, like Evan had done obviously PWG, so had Jamie Noble had done PWG. So there was like 2 or 3 guys there that were from PWG, and then from that circle. So obviously, you can tell that there was like a little bit of favoritism, per se.
No, not in wrestling, bro. No mames.
But that's like I said. Like I want to stay in there as much as I could because I want to be seen.
Yeah.
And then after that happened, we did matches, and like I've said before, like we did like a tournament style. And they would take the one that they liked from each match and they put them up against each other, and then it went on. And then I guess before at the end it was myself and Mercurio Jr.
Okay.
Match happens. Not Canyon. Ty Bailey.
Yeah.
He was the scout at the time.
Yeah, he was a scout heavy for FCW as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the main guy, and then he pulled me aside and he asked me if I was interested, if given the opportunity, if I would be interested in going to Florida, which obviously I told him yes. And we've all been in wrestling before. We know, we've heard promises left and right. We know how it goes, right. So we just kind of take it for what it is, and we're like, yeah, okay, sure. And then that was it. And then I got offered the deal the following day for the Alberto thing, and then it just went from there.
Okay, well, you're skipping a big part.
Is he?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep. What do you know, Gabe?
He acts like they were waiting for him to be the ring announcer. No mames. So, on this very same day that he got the ring announcer gig, I also got a phone call. And I was told, hey, we hear you have a ring announcer who's bilingual. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, do you think you can get him to Bakersfield? And I was like, yeah, when do you need him? They're all, tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning? What's going on? They're like, we have this thing. We can't tell you exactly what it is, but it's a project for Laurinaitis. I said, okay. What's the deal? He just needs to be a ring announcer. And I'm like, this is a fucking rib. You want a ring announcer? Like, I know I'm not a legend or a fucking old school, but I'm not green. Who the fuck gets a tryout to, for a last minute tryout to a ring announcer? He goes, well, X, Y, and Z, can he be there? And yeah, I go, matter of fact. So at the same time, I had my wife calling a ring announcer who also was trained to wrestle. I told him he can bump, blah, blah, blah. And I go, hey, on your way to Bakersfield, cut that freaking hair, shave everything off, get clean cut, get your suit on and go. He was gone. And so I get the call, said he's on his way, still on his way. I'm like, oh, man. And I still can't be told what's going on. All right, well, he's on his way. I'll let you know when he's in the area. Don't worry about hotel, nothing. He'll be at the location you're telling me to be at, in his car, parking lot, ready to go. As soon as you tell me he's a go, green light, he'll go. All right, thank you, brother. Thank you. Wait and wait. Freaking wait. I was like, man, this is way too long, man. So I finally get a call about 4 hours later. So now I know it got killed. I'm like, it happens. I'll have to call him back and tell him, hey, it's part of the business and move on. And he says, hey, brother, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I'm like, no, it's good, bro. Don't worry. And he says, well, the spot's been filled. I go, whoa. I go, who? I go, there's no bilingual ring announcers anywhere. Like, I got the only one that can. I go, who filled the spot? And he goes, well, do you know a guy named Chimera? I go, no shit. I go, all right. I go, he speaks no freaking Spanish or English, right? Like, he's not a ring announcer there. Oh, well, he did a hell of a job and you passed. I'm like, well, can I ask what it was for? he's going to be the ring announcer for Alberto Del Rio, and we're going to do a gimmick for him. I was like, fuck. I go, let's see what happens. And the rest is absolute history. Da-da-da-da.
Well, hey, Ricardo, was that the timeline, or did we skip over some of the FCW work that you did? I mean, you were a manager of the original Ascension. You did a lot of work under the hood.
Well, I did this tryout before going to FCW, so I started backwards. Okay. I got hired on the road and then got sent to FCW.
Yep.
But I was rarely at FCW because I was on the road. So I started backwards.
So you were doing the gimmick full time, and then you would go to FCW on downtime.
My days off, I would have to go to FCW. Yeah. So like I wasn't liked by a lot of people at FCW.
Oh yeah, you had leapfrogged a bunch of people, man. So I had
leapfrogged the whole developmental system.
Right, but were you not liked because of developmental, or were you not liked because you're Latino?
Probably both.
Probably both.
No, I just wasn't liked because I jumped everyone.
Or they don't like you because you're an asshole. Because that's what I always tell people.
That's more likely. Yeah, because that's than likely.
You're Latino. You're hot-headed. You're in a great spot. So they see this guy coming in with some swag because you carry yourself that way.
That's all of us.
Did they think? Yeah. No, speak for yourself, asshole.
Yeah, that's all of us.
So when did you say, hey, bro, do we got heat or qué onda? Or did you just keep your head down and keep it going?
No, I just kept going. Eventually, as time went on, I made friends down there, and then I just did my own thing. But like I said, I've also been in wrestling long enough to where, like I said, I wasn't there to make friends. It's great that I did, but I wasn't there to make friends, and that's something that I wish more people understood. We're not here to make friends. It's still a business.
So what was the initial experience? I mean, you went from, wrestling on the independent circuit, you got to try out the chance, ring announcer audition where, you got that part. Now, here you are on the main roster. You're immediately, in contact with, Alberto Del Rio and all these agents and everything. It seems like you went in head first, right?
Yeah,
So, what was the experience like and the transitional period? You went from independent level, house show type of shows to the big grand stage where you have 1,000 cameras and every single person around just trying to make sure that you stick to the script.
It's overwhelming. Just like anything, though, like when you get thrown in there, it's very overwhelming. And it was hard at first, trying to balance everything and try to keep your emotions intact and then not letting it get to you. Because it's not easy. It's not easy at all, man. But like I said, I mean, I did meet good people down the road that kind of helped me out. And then eventually I developed a friendship with Alberto and with Chavo and a bunch of other folks on the road. So that helped a lot. Because as like I said, even though it's still a business and it helps to have familiar faces and it helps to have people, a support system. It helps. Because when you don't have it, it sucks and it can get lonely, and then that's a bad road to go down. But no, it was overwhelming, and then just and just like anything, with time, it becomes a habit. It becomes a routine.
And your actual debut, wasn't it on SmackDown?
It was SmackDown August 13th, but I think it aired on August 17th in Bakersfield.
And you came out in front of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And you announced his name.
Oh, and I was watching, waiting for him to fuck it up. I'm like, watch. I'm like, watch. Wait till he fucking fucks up the name and he can't roll the R. I'm gonna be so pissed. I'm gonna call the agent right now. And he fucking nailed it.
Yeah, he nailed it, and he went on to have a great career as not only the ring announcer, but as the manager. I mean, you were involved in a lot of good, spots, during your tenure as Alberto Del Rio.
WrestleMania,
and that right there, mi gente, is where we're stopping. Yeah, I know. Why are we stopping? There's a lot more to talk about. we ain't done yet. And you're right, we're not done yet. There is more to talk about, and we're gonna do that next week. So tune in next week for part 2 of Ricardo Rodriguez. He's gonna pull back up to the podcast. We're gonna sit down, finish the discussion, and we're gonna have a lot of fun doing so. I can't wait for you to hear it. Speaking of which, you're listening to us right now, and you gotta be listening to us from somewhere. So let us know, what podcast platform are you using to listen to every episode of Straight Out of the Bodega on the Lucha Central Podcast Network? Is it Spotify? Is it iTunes? Is it iHeartRadio? Which one is it? Let us know. And also do us another favor. Follow, rate, review, subscribe, share, tell a friend. Help us get the word out. Help us keep expanding our broadcast and our fan base so we can bring you the best possible podcast every single episode. We would appreciate it. Well, that's all the time we got. Before you go, though, check us out on social media. That's Straight Out of the Bodega on Facebook, Straight Out of the Bodega on Instagram, Twitter at STR8OUTDABODEGA. Give us a follow. You might like what you find. Also, check me out on social media. That's Papo Esco on Instagram, Papo Esco on Facebook, Papo_Esco on Twitter. Talk to me. I talk back. Well, guys, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. So on behalf of the podcast, I am your master of ceremonies, the King Fat Boy Papo Esco. We are out.
Lucha-masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you in partnership with Masked Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to lucha-masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at lucha-masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.